right, here we go, peeps. Continuing the physical media collection videos. Starting off where we left off with the H's. Happy Feet, a very fun animated film. My wife and my son really like this film. Happy Feet gets a lot of watches in my home. Then we got a bunch of Harry Potter films right here. We got the Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, wherever you're from, Chamber of Secrets, and blah, 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 the Half-Blood Prince. All DVDs. I want to get more, but they have some awesome steelbooks coming out, so I might wait for that. Hatchet 2. Get back in there, little man. Hatchet 3. Great films, great slashers. If you love slashers or you're a huge horror fan, these are like love letters to horror fans, those films. Heat. This is one of the greatest scripts that's ever been written. I guarantee you, Michael Mann, this film, and some of the best performances Al Pacino and Robert De Niro have ever given. Hellfest, a great modern day slasher, like awesome slip. And yeah, I love the other. That's what they call the villain in this film. And man, he's so good. Of course, I'm having trouble putting that one back. We'll put this down here. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, and Bloodline. I'm a huge fan of Bloodline. Defend that movie to death. It's a really good Hellraiser film. Hereditary, one of the best A24 films. Toni Collette's performance is fantastic in here. I love that film. A History of Violence. This is a David Cronenberg film. Really good performances. A very highly sexual film. David Cronenberg is known for that. Bruce Willis in Hostage, a kind of generic hostage type film, but is very much heightened by Bruce Willis's performance because he's great. Hotel Transylvania. Of course, you know I'm a huge horror fan, and I even love my anime, scary, spooky stuff. The Innkeepers, Ty West. Ty West is easily one of the best horror directors and plain out directors out there right now, and The Innkeepers is a very solid film. Not my favorite of his, but very solid. The Invincible Iron Man. This is a Marvel animated film about Iron Man, and this one has the Mandarin done right, if you want to see it, besides when they did Shang-Chi. But in terms of anime, that's the Mandarin done right. Jason X, a very fun slasher. I adore this film. John Wick with the VHS slip cover. I love this slip, the Lionsgate VHS slip. I love that cover. Kenichi, the Mightiest Disciple. This is a TV show, very fun anime. Kenichi's a great character that learns from all these masters of different martial arts. Joker DVD. Can't wait to see the sequel. We already got our first look at the Joker sequel with Joaquin Phoenix. Then we have, I'm going to butcher this. Oh no, King of Bandits Young. This is a TV show too. I think this has 6 episodes on it or something like that. Now on to the next section. So next up we have Killer Elite. This is a fun film, but it has a lot of content in it. It really just has a lot of stuff going on in it. That's the main problem that I have with that film. But it's a cool watch, but it takes multiple watches. The Land Before Time. This is a fantastic film. Great film that reminds me of my childhood. Wes Craven's The Last House on Left. There's a movie card right there. Wes Craven's The Last House on Left. This is the unrated edition, man. Very hard film, tough film for a lot of people to watch, but I fancy this movie because this is one of the first Wes Craven movies I actually saw besides Nightmare on Elm Street. Last House on the Left, the remake. I actually prefer the remake to the original because it's a little bit more highly produced, but the performances in here are fantastic. Little Miss Sunshine. First time I ever saw Paul Dano in a movie. Toni Collette's in here. Steve Carell. Great cast. Amazing film with a lot of heart, but it's dark comedy. Matilda. This is another film that reminds me of my childhood. Like I said, very much a film that I watched on repeat, when I was 9, 8, and 7, around that age, always watching that film. I used to have it on VHS, I think. The Matrix. This is the 4-film collection. I actually am a fan of pretty much all the films. The first 2 are easily the best 2, but I was one of the few people that liked Matrix Resurrections. Vinegar Syndrome release of Mausoleum. This is a fun, sleazy, good horror film with crazy special effects and, like I said, really awesome, a lot of nudity too. So it's just a sleazy, awesome, good time. Meatballs, Bill Murray, one of his best, and this is the VHS slip. Look at that with the comedy sticker on it and everything. I think that's fabulous. Men, one of my favorite films of this year, probably my favorite horror film so far this year. Alex Garland really did a good job with that movie. So freaking gorgeous. Mortal Kombat 3 film collection with the glow-in-the-dark slip, so I was happy to pick that up, and it's 3 films. It was pretty cheap. Monster House. This is a fun, horror kind of anime comedy, of course, and everything leans heavy, but it's got a good heart to it. And these casts, the 3 of them, I think they work well together. Those characters, very well written. A Naruto 3 film collection right there. Naruto, we're huge anime fans, and Naruto is one of the best. This one is a copy of one of the ones in there, Guardians of the Crescent Moon Kingdom, but it's got this awesome like hardcover slip thing, so I was very happy to get that. So happy. Then we have The Nice Guys. Man, such a good film. These two have great chemistry in this movie. I believe that one was written by Shane Black, wrote that movie. Night at the Museum, Ben Stiller. Of course, it's a classic. 2-disc special edition right there. I don't have any of the other ones, though. We'll put this off to the side for now. Then we have the Nightmare on Elm Street 8-film collection that has all the films into it up to Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It even has Freddy vs. Jason. The only one that's not in here is the remake. Next up, we have Ninja Scroll. My boy Rashad brought this up recently on one of Mike's Did You See That's like live streams, and this is an awesome anime. He said this was his favorite, and Mike, you still need to check this out. Ninja Resurrection. This is the TV show that kind of goes with that. It's a little bit connected, about the same character, Jubei, so fun animes for sure. Next up, we have Jordan Peele's Nope with the Walmart slip. Man, this was a fabulous release, and also one of my favorite films from this year. Now we have No Time to Die. I'm a huge James Bond fan. This is the Blu-ray, and like, man, this is a badass film. Great film to cap off Daniel Craig's run as James Bond. Then we have Out of the Furnace. This is a Christian Bale film with Woody Harrelson and Casey Affleck, and it actually is very solid. Some strong performances in here. It's just not a film I return to very often, but it is good. The Paranorman Steelbook from Scream Factory. I just recently got this, and it's sexy. I love that steelbook. Then we have Perdita Durango, one of my Severin releases, and Rosie Perez and Javier Bardem are crazy in here. How I would describe this is like a Spanish version of Natural Born Killers. Freaking fabulous. Next up, we have Phantasm. I have the 5-movie collection, but the slip got damaged, like the cover to this, and my daughter actually drew this for me and created a nice little side for me. It says 5 movies, Phantasm. She drew that, so it's a unique one-of-a-kind in my collection. Now we have Phantom of the Opera. Man, this is a film you have to at least see once. Definitely my wife is a bigger fan of this film. It's not one that I return to often, but, you know, it's a film that you at least have to see once, and this is the remake. Next up, we have The Place Beyond the Pines, and man, Ryan Gosling, Eva Mendes, Bradley Cooper, Ray Liotta in here. All great performances. Almost feels like 2 movies in one, but it actually works. Next up, we have Disney's, oh my god, Planes, Here for the Kids. I'm not really a big fan of that movie. Push, which is kind of like an off-brand X-Men film with Chris Evans and Dakota Fanning that actually lands. It's actually really strong. I wouldn't have minded a sequel to that. Next up, we have the Pretty in Pink Steelbook. Man, this is another one huge of my childhood. 80s comedy, especially John Hughes, is where it's at for sure. Then we have Promare. This is an anime, really good one about the future where these people are firefighters that use mech suits, and these people are kind of telekinesis or pyrokinesis people that live in the world. And yeah, it's kind of like, which one side are you on? Psycho, the complete 4-film collection. All amazing films. This is Psycho 1 through Psycho 4, the beginning. Great films. Psycho 2 is my favorite of the franchise, though. Then we have Psycho Goreman, a very funny, crazy film about a brother and sister who find an alien and then are able to control him. And he's like a world killer type alien dude. It brings weapons and enemies from space too and all kinds of stuff. Reservoir Dogs, the 10-year anniversary Artisan Special Edition one. Man, my favorite Quentin Tarantino film. The dialogue and scripts, the cast in here, it's just absolutely perfect. Next up, we have Resident Evil Apocalypse. And then we have Resident Evil Extinction. If we can get it out of there, we'll put that one on the top so we can slide these out easier. Return of the Living Dead. Great zombie film. Such funny comedy. Dragon Ball Z, The Return of Cooler movie. Then we have Rick and Morty Season 3. And the Rocky Horror Picture Show, another one of my favorite musicals, man. Oh, such a fabulous movie. The performances, the songs in here, they're just one of a kind. Time Warp is probably one of my favorite songs. Here now we have Satanic Panic, and this is one of the biggest surprises I watched this year. Fabulous film. It's on Shudder if you want to check that out. And Scream 2-film collection. This has Scream, the original, and Scream, the new one, the most recent one, Scream 5. So my 2 favorites in the franchise, so that was an easy buy for me. Then we have Scrubs Season 1, Scrubs Season 5, and Scrubs Season 6. Then another great zombie film, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Hilarious, classic, great film. Sex Drive, unrated. This is a wild film, very raunchy, kind of in the same vein as like an American Pie type film. Shall We Dance, one of the few films I actually like, Jennifer Lopez and Richard Gere. I don't really like him that much, but I like that movie. Now we have Sleepaway Camp, one of the best slashers of all time. The ending of this is probably like one of the greatest horror endings of all time, in my opinion. Small Soldiers, Sleepy Hollow. This is a good film, man. Such great aesthetic. Just a very unique, awesome, creepy film. Something's Gotta Give, another film. Jack Nicholson, Diane Keaton. It's like kind of one of those just guilty pleasure films because I don't typically gravitate towards these films, but it's got some good performances in there. South Park, The Hits Volume 1. I believe this has stuff from South Park Season 1 through 3, just like the greatest episodes, the highly most viewed ones. Speed Racer. Nothing kind of crazy special about this film, but I'm a fan of Emile Hirsch. He's a great performer. Then we have Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, the original one. Spin City, Discs 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first season, the complete whole thing. Such a fabulous show. I'm a sucker for Michael J. Fox. Spun, a very hard film to watch, but it's good. But it's one of those films that you're not going to watch very often because it's kind of depressing. Star Wars, The Force Awakens. I definitely got to get more Star Wars films, but I want to pick up a pack if they ever come out with awesome packs. Star Wars, The Last Jedi. Very divisive film. I don't hate it, but it is my least favorite, but it's a freaking gorgeous film. Alright, continuing on with the S's. Now we're in the Strangers 2-film collection, man. Both really great films. I really enjoy both, but the first is my favorite one. Next up, we have James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, one of the best DC films, man. And this is a freaking cool slip. I love that slip. Angelina Jolie in Taking Lives. Solid thriller. Very solid. Then we have Teen Titans, The Judas Contract. And this is one of those DC animated films. They just knock it out of the park. They're really good. And then Terminator, the very first one with this awesome slip. I love this slip cover for real on the Blu-ray. It's so gorgeous. Then we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 40th anniversary edition, man. Tobe Hooper, you know, left a mark on horror for sure with this film. Sidney Poitier next into Sir with Love, and this is a very important film because one of my teachers showed me this film for the first time in school one time when I had in college a cinema class about films and showed us that film. Sidney Poitier is great. Transformers and the animated movie Steelbook, and to me this is the only Transformers film. All those live action Transformers movies are trash. Tremors, The Attack Pack. This is Tremors 1 through 4, all very solid creature flicks. Like, I have fun with all 4 of them, but there's like 7 in that franchise, I think. Turbulence, this is a good film. Ray Liotta, rest in peace, we miss you so much. And this is a good film to see him as a lead. You know, you don't really get to see him besides Goodfellas and stuff. This is another good film. Check it out for sure. The Turning, a film that I bought mainly because of Finn Wolfhard. I was like, oh, let's check this out. But it's kind of this generic, babysitter, creepy kids, haunted mansion type film. The Underworld 3 film collection, man, werewolves and vampires kick ass in this films. All 3 of them, and Kate Beckinsale's gorgeous. The second film is my favorite. Next up, we have Valentine, The Dark Avenger, and this is actually a Scream Factory release, but it's kind of this bland. It falls apart in the third act. It was fun for the first 2 acts, and then the third act it falls apart. Let's just say that. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, directed by Luc Besson, and this is just as good to me as The Fifth Element. Not above The Fifth Element, but for me it's just as entertaining. Ryan Reynolds in Van Wilder, and this is one of those films that he first broke out big in, like the first film where people really started to notice him. And then next we have Van Wilder, The Rise of Taj, which is not as good, but I'm a sucker for Van Wilder, so I picked it up. Next up we have Wentworth. I have this one sealed, and this is a Region B Blu-ray, but I actually won this from another YouTube channel in a competition, so I have that sealed, kept it. We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, great film. Steven Spielberg did this film or produced this film, and you can tell he wrote a little bit of this film too, because you can just feel the Steven Spielberg isms in this movie. Next up, we have Wind River with Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen. A good pairing, you know what I mean? They were in Marvel together, you know. But this is one of those films that, oh man, I didn't have any expectations, but it's a good film. You know, it's totally surprised me. Bela Lugosi's White Zombie, one of the best zombie films of all time. Back in the day when zombies were more like kind of like mind control voodoo type stuff, you know, not the typical body monster eating zombies we know nowadays. The Wizard of Oz, this is the 2-disc anniversary edition, 70th anniversary edition, man. How can you hate on Wizard of Oz? Such a great film. The Witch, a fabulous A24 film, and man, Anya Taylor-Joy in this movie is great. Really good film. We have Witchblade. These are the seasons right here. This is like different packs, volumes 3 and 5 of different episodes from Witchblade. Great anime. If you like Ghost in the Shell and stuff, or like Gundam, you're gonna love that one. Wolf Creek, a very cool Australian horror film, but it's rough. It's a very rough watch. Now we have Ty West X, another great slasher and one of the best films this year for sure. X-Men, this is the very first X-Men, very old release in my freaking collection too. Then we have a bunch of Yu Hakusho. So this is another one of my favorite animes, and these are all different, you know, season episodes and packs. And then I have like, I think, yeah, a movie, and these are different episodes and stuff like that. So yeah, Yu Hakusho, one of my favorite animes. And last but not least, we have Zombieland. This finishes off the regulars, you know, the Z's and stuff. We're going to go to my Arrow video collection next. I'll just breeze through that one because I recently did a video, so I'll link that in the description of this video if you want to hear more detailed about it. But let's show you the Arrow video stuff now. And this is my Arrow video shelf. Like I said, I have the most of Arrow video stuff, so that's why I sectioned them off by themselves. But I definitely need to eventually invest in getting a nice Blu-ray shelf, you know, instead of using the milk crates now that I'm getting so much more and I'm getting back into collecting. But there's your Arrow video set. And now we're going to start pulling out some VHSs. Now to go over the VHSs, and like I said, I had a somewhat decent VHS collection. I'm a huge WWE fan, so there's some wrestling right there. Saturday Night Main Event, that's old school. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but that's old school right there. Then we have the Yo-Yo Zone. This is one of those movies or films that teaches you how to do yo-yo tricks like walk the dog around the world and cradle the baby and all that stuff. Prototype. This is a cool kind of Terminator ripoff film, and man, this is just, it's really good. It's really vicious, really violent. I have a great time with this film. The Wizard of Oz VHS, and this is one of those old school clam cases, as you can see, just really good. Like, have Wizard of Oz on the DVD and the VHS, so that's fabulous. Space Jam, this is one of those films that I first remember seeing in theaters. I believe this is the first film I remember seeing in theaters with my mom. Space Jam. I'm a huge basketball fan. Then we have Pokemon, the first movie, another clam case one, and man, one of the best Pokemon movies for sure. And there's a lot of great ones. Pokemon's great. Three Ninjas Knuckle Up, and Three Ninjas, how can you go wrong, man? Just like comedy, but cool martial arts. The first one is probably the best, but Knuckle Up's a pretty solid one too. The Land Before Time VHS, I have this, yes, on DVD and VHS, and yes, old school stuff, like I said, you know, reminds me deeply of my childhood. Then we have The Godfather, and you can tell this is old school too. Like I said, when you had to have 2 VHSs to watch The Godfather because it was so long. So yeah. Then we have more wrestling stuff. We got The Ultimate Warrior, who was one of my favorites right there. That's a little documentary thing, episodes about him and his experiences. He was a marketing machine. TLC, this is a great VHS that goes into the detailed, you know, of the Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian, their rivalry, tables, ladders, and chairs, which is one of the greatest, some of the greatest matches ever filmed in history. Then we have Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, which is my favorite Godzilla film. I told you I had more Godzilla films on VHS, and here they come. Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. I used to watch these on repeat so much. Like, I'm such a huge fan of kind of that Toho era of Godzilla. Godzilla versus Mothra, man. I love the slip on this one and like the design of this one, man. So cool, these VHSs, for real. And Godzilla versus Biolanta, really, I used to get emotional when I watched this film as a kid. The first time I ever thought Godzilla was actually gonna die in a movie was in this movie, like, and I was scared for him. So Thank you for sticking around with me, y'all, for going over my physical media collection. Like I said, awesome. Over time, have just started recollecting again, and in this last year. But a lot of these, like I said, have been in my collection for a really, really long time and all that stuff. So thank you for sticking around with me all for these really long videos of going over my collection. And again, I have this Weird Science sealed steelbook from Arrow Video that I'm giving out in my contest. I think there's about 5 or 6 days left in that, so be sure to watch that video on my channel. Go back and see that so you can see the rules on how to enter to win that. So thank you for sticking around with me all again for this awesome video going through my physical media collection. Be sure to like and subscribe, and most importantly, I want y'all to have a safe and happy day. Peace out.